This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this virtual presentation. I appreciate your time today. I know things are a little bit different this year with GIS in the Rockies, but we're all learning to adapt to this new situation. So, while we will take advantage of the virtual platform, I know personally I would have loved to be able to meet with you all in person and engage with you in person, but we will do the best we can. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. So just some quick background on Cityworks. We are a GIS-centric asset management and permitting, licensing, and land management platform. We were acquired by Trimble back in fall of 2019. And so we have really worked with Trimble and the other business units within Trimble to not only extend our functionalities in our platform, but to find synergies within the larger Trimble organization as well. We're also a platinum partner with Esri. And so, for us and our platform, we're GIS-centric. And so really the Esri GIS is kind of the basis for our whole platform. And so we see the value in GIS, we see the value in spatial data. And so that partnership with Esri is extremely important to us and something that we're very proud of. Just a little introduction about myself. So my name is Matt Ponder. I'm based here in Denver, Colorado. I live in Centennial, but I've been in the Denver metro area for several years now. I'm the regional sales manager for several states in the western United States. So Colorado is kind of my base of operations, but I work with existing and potential clients in several other western states as well. And I've been with Cityworks since February of 2018. So just real quick before we get started, everything I'm going to show you today is for educational and instructional purposes only. So with that being said, just a little quick dive into the Cityworks platform. Cityworks is really designed to handle all of the day-to-day operations for municipal governments and utilities. So everything from asset and work management, so allocating crews for repair efforts and things like that, to the whole community development workflow as well. So handling permitting, licensing, land management, planning, right, and doing all of that in a digital format. And so the platform is designed to, really just digitize and handle municipal operations. A little background into Cityworks as a company. So we are worldwide now. We have clients across the globe, including several in Canada, Europe, South Africa, and Australia. So we're across the globe, but our main client base is here in the United States. We have a huge partner network, 71 partners, Trimble and Esri obviously being kind of the bigger ones, but we have partnerships with most of the large engineering and consulting firms, as well as several other software providers as well. We were founded in 1995, so we've been around for quite a while. And then something that we're extremely proud of as a company is our 99% client retention rate. So essentially what this means is every year, 99% of our clients from the previous year renew their contract with us. So that's just a testament to the relationships that we have built with our client base, as well as the functionality of the software. So Cityworks has two core product lines. One is for permitting, licensing, and land management. It's what we call PLL, is the name of the module, but this particular software platform is designed to handle the whole permitting process, as well as community development, planning, code enforcement and compliance, as well as business licensing and that whole process. And then we have a public portal that customers can deploy to be able to take in permit and license requests digitally. And so that has been a really big focus of ours as a company, developing that product line, as well as our clients deploying PLL, because with the COVID situation, a lot of folks are working remotely. There's a big push to digitize, and so that's been a real big focus lately. And so on the asset management side, we do have an AMS system, asset management system, that's designed to handle those typical day-to-day workflows for operations and maintenance, handling your repair efforts, taking in citizen-reported problems, dispatching work, tracking costs and repair efforts, as well as inspecting your assets and your infrastructure. So that was just a little bit of background on myself and the company. But today I'm going to be talking about the concept of the digital twin, right, and embracing that concept, and how kind of deploying that mind frame can not only help your organization digitize, but also to streamline your operations. So what is a digital twin? Really, a digital twin is simply a virtual representation of a physical object, system, or process. And we encounter digital twins every day and don't even think about it. Email, for example, is one that we encounter every day. It's our preferred method of communication for both professionally and personally. But really, email is just a digital twin of just physical mail, right? It's handling that same correspondence with other people, but instead of it being a physical letter or note that's being mailed or transported, it's digital, right? It's electronic. And then we also have our own digital twins that we may have never thought of these things as a digital twin, but our social media platforms are a digital version of ourselves, and so they're kind of our digital twins. They reflect our interests and our views and our connections, and so those are kind of our digital representations of us as people. But today we're going to focus on the concept of the digital twin in regards to assets and infrastructure. And this is where GIS can really play a critical role, in taking that data, taking those assets that are out in the field, right? That's critical infrastructure like your water mains and your streets and your sidewalks, all of that, and creating a digital twin of those assets within the GIS. And so obviously reflecting the location of those assets, as well as all of the pertinent information about that asset. So any important attributes, the condition of those assets. So it's all critical information that is being reflected in the GIS that reflects the information that's out in the field, right? And we're all GIS folks here at this conference, but so I think we're all familiar with just kind of the basic format of features within GIS. But when you're talking about assets and infrastructure, you can apply those, the same very basic principles of GIS for your assets, and so things like hydrants and sewer manhole covers and street lights and trees and all that can be represented very simply as points in the GIS, right? And so you have an easy way to create that digital twin of that asset simply by placing a point on your GIS map and populating it with the important attributes. Then we have our more linear assets, things like water mains and roads and things like that, that can be easily represented as lines in the GIS as well. And then things like buildings and parcels can be represented as polygons. And we have other types of assets as well that are just as significant to organizations, but they don't typically have a traditional spatial component to them. But these are assets that are still very important and still very valuable, that can be represented in the GIS and still have that digital twin of that asset. So basically, with this slide, I just wanted to kind of go over some examples of how you can create that digital twin for your asset in the GIS. And so with the Cityworks system, we actually utilize the GIS as the system of record for your assets. And so we're taking that digital twin of that asset, in this case, a fire hydrant, and we are consuming that information and allowing the user to see that, the location of that hydrant, as well as any pertinent attributes, and then associate work to that asset, right? And so the concept of the digital twin doesn't just apply to physical assets. It also applies to workflows as well. And so kind of the typical day-to-day workflow of an organization maintaining an asset manifests itself as a work order, right? This is a very common example of something that would be done on a daily basis to just maintain an asset, right? And within this work order, you're capturing costs, you're capturing labor hours, right? And this was a process that was very commonly done with paper, right? And so what Cityworks does is we take this same process and this same workflow and digitize it, right? And so we're creating that digital twin of that work order, right? But it's the same process. It's just in a digital format, so it's more streamlined and it's digital. And that same concept can apply to the permitting process as well. So, permits were typically handled via paper, and it was something that had to be done in person. And so this whole process of applying for a permit and doing all the other steps that are part of that process, this can all be digital as well, and that's something that Cityworks can do. And so you take that same permit application that might have been a paper copy originally, and just transitioning that to a digital format and allowing folks to not only complete that and submit it digitally, but allowing your users and your stakeholders to actually view the approval and the processing of that permit all digitally, right? So again, just taking that existing workflow and creating that digital twin of that process. Within Cityworks, we refer to these workflows as templates. And so part of the process is looking at your existing workflow processes and then translating them into a digital format via what we call a template, right? And so take work orders, for example. Not all work orders are the same. And even if you're still doing paper work orders, you know this, right? Because a work order to repair a water main is going to be different from a work order to proactively repair a pump at a treatment plant. And so it's different type of workflows, but you take those existing processes and translate them into a digital format via a template. And then part of those templates, you're capturing all the same information that you did before, just in a digital format, right? And so capturing that same pertinent information as part of the application process, capturing all the necessary steps that go into that workflow, and even the fees, right? And the money that's associated with that permit. You're taking all that stuff, all that information, and just compiling it into a digital workflow. And so these are two very common workflows that a organization would encounter on a daily basis, right? Especially for utilities and local governments. But let's say that you have a citizen that calls and reports a problem. This could be a broken water main, it could be a pothole, something like that, but you want to record that that issue has been reported digitally, right? You don't want to just, put it on a Post-it note somewhere that someone called and reported an issue here, right? You want a digital record of that, as well as a digital record of somebody going and investigating that problem, any repair efforts that were a result of that problem. So in this case, a work order that was generated to repair that asset, you want to record that, right? You want to keep a record of that. And as you start to gather this data, you can actually do some pretty significant analyzing and reporting on this data, right? To see where you're having problems reported, where the assets are that you're having issues, and where you're having to spend your money on repairs. And then another workflow that's very typical of a local government is getting a permit application in, right? And then having to go through the plan review process, do all the associated inspections, and all that. And so with the Cityworks PLL module, you're able to process that entire workflow, but in a digital format. And because you are recording that information digitally, you can again do some additional analysis and reports on where are you getting your permit application requests, or where are you getting your code enforcement infractions. And the added benefit of using GIS as part of that, right, and utilizing location intelligence is seeing exactly where these issues are occurring, right? And so you get the additional benefit of that spatial awareness as part of this. And so we previously talked about the GIS as kind of being the digital twin of your assets, right? So all of your physical assets being reflected in a digital format within the GIS. And then what Cityworks does on top of that is it is creating that digital twin of all of your workflows and then associating that with your assets in the GIS. And so it's one interconnected system. So you are getting that accurate reflection of what's actually happening out in the field with your infrastructure in a digital platform. So that's the what of the digital twin concept and the digital transformation process. Let's talk about why now. A lot of folks, it's a big question. Why do they need to digitize? Why do they need to undergo that digital transformation? And there's really kind of three core things that you get as far as return on investment whenever you undergo that digital transformation process. And so one is operational efficiency. So right off the bat, whenever you digitize and whenever you consolidate all of your information and your assets and your workflows into an asset management platform or a CMMS platform, you're automatically getting operational efficiency. You're able to streamline your workflows. You're also cutting down on duplicate data entry, so there's no paperwork orders or paper inspections to process. You're able to do that all digitally. right? And that's the same for the permit process as well. There's no paper permits that you have to process. It's all being recorded digitally, and it's all being processed digitally. And so you get an automatic time savings from that. And as we all know, whenever you save time, you also save money, right? And so there's a direct financial benefit you get whenever you undergo that digital transformation. And it's not just time and money that you're saving, but you're also getting the peace of mind knowing that you have immediate access to all of your data for your organization. There's no having to go into a back room and dig up some forms from a file cabinet somewhere, right? It's all at the touch of a fingertip, and you're able to easily report on your information and analyze your information. And so you get the peace of mind knowing that you will never lose your data. And then it also helps with connecting all of your systems and data, right? And so once you undergo that transformation and start to really utilize digital processes and the digital twin as far as your data, it helps to connect all of your different disparate systems, right? And so because you're recording all of your planning, permitting activity that's going on digitally, it helps you compare and connect that data with your operations and maintenance data that is also digital, right? And tying that back to financial records as well as citizen engagement records, and so it helps to connect everything once all your processes have undergone that digital transformation. It also helps with reporting and analyzing, right? It's a whole lot easier to report and analyze on information that has been recorded digitally as opposed to paper records, right? I think we can all attest to how easy it is to report on spatial data and digital data, right? It's a whole lot easier to do that than putting together a poster or something with paper records. So it streamlines that process and ensures that the data that you're reporting on is accurate and up to date. And then going through the digital transformation process is really kind of, it's a major step in maturing as an organization. And so we like to show folks this organizational maturity curve, which is kind of a journey that local governments and cities and towns go on as they undergo that digital transformation. So a lot of folks are just starting on this process, and maybe COVID was the facilitator, right? Maybe it took folks having to work remotely to really push for that digitization, which is totally understandable. But a lot of folks are kind of in this developing phase, right? So they are looking at how they can transition their existing processes into a digital format and streamline them. And as you start to do that, not only can you digitize your processes, you can optimize them as well because you're saving time and money. You're trimming down on the duplication that occurs whenever you're still doing manual processes. So you start to get efficiency that way. And then as you grow as an organization and really achieve the full maturity in the digital transformation, you can start to analyze your data and actually use it for decisions for the future, right? And making smart decisions for your organization. And that whole concept, the digital twin, digital transformation, streamlining your processes, those are all parts of this larger concept of being a smart or an intelligent organization. And so that's kind of a buzzword that people hear all the time is a smart city or a smart town. Like, what does that mean? Well, one of the biggest components of being a smart organization is going through the digital transformation. And Cityworks would love to be a part of that process with you. And so that kind of wraps things up for the day. I hope this presentation was informative, but we would love to connect with you and discuss our platform further and discuss, any specific needs or, things that your organization is facing and how we may be able to help. My contact information is on the last slide, so feel free to call or email me. We're also going to be attending several virtual events in the near future, and so if you're curious to see what virtual conferences we will be at, you can see what events we're attending through this link right here. And then we also have virtual user summits, and these occur pretty regularly every couple of months. And basically, these are opportunities for our existing clients to present on how they're using the software and how Cityworks has helped them in their own digital transformation. And so these are good opportunities for folks to see how our client base is actually utilizing the software. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And I hope to hear from you. Thanks again.